This one's for the communists. The word socialism comes from the Latin word socius. It does not mean state. It does not mean government control. It means ally, comrade, friend, or partner. The very DNA of the word is about the voluntary alliance of partners. It is the root word of society itself. A group of people joined together for a common purpose. The word at its core describes the natural state of the producing class, a brotherhood of allies working together. The evidence proves that the term socialist was first used in print in the English language in 1827 in the Cooperative magazine. It was used to describe the followers of Robert Owen, a man who advocated for the rights of workers and the creation of a cooperative community where the producers, the workers themselves, owned the fruits of their labor. Let me repeat the date, 1827. It was a term born from a workers' rights movement and a worker ownership movement. It was a declaration of independence from the tyranny of bankers and the idle capitalists. It meant simply that the allies, the socialists, should run society. And 21 years later, in 1848, the scene of the crime shifts. The primary perpetrator, Karl Marx, along with his accomplice, Friedrich Engels, publishes a document of political warfare, the Communist Manifesto, one of the single greatest propaganda weapons ever wielded against the working class. You have to understand, it was a psychological weapon before psychological weapons were defined in the dictionary. Let the record be perfectly clear, Karl Marx did not invent socialism. He hijacked it. He saw a powerful word, a concept that was already inspiring the working class of Europe, and he stole it. He and Engels executed the greatest intellectual heist in modern history. This was the criminal act. They took a word that meant an alliance of producers and violently twisted it to mean the total ownership of all production by the state, achieved through a bloody class war. This is the central fraud. They replaced a doctrine of worker empowerment with a doctrine of state worship. And here's the motive, the psychological warfare component of the crime. Marx knew he could never build a movement from scratch. He had to co-opt a real one. So he stole the identity of the workers' rights movement to channel its righteous anger. Not towards building its own free and independent system, but towards seizing the violent machinery of the state and handing it to a new class of academic and political parasites. While Marx was committing this act of propaganda, the original idea of socialism continued to thrive in the real world, among the real workers. Simultaneously, in Germany, a powerful workers' rights movement were rising. They used the word socialism to demand fair wages, safe conditions, and a currency backed not by whims of bankers and debt, but undeniable value of the very labor that creates the physical wealth of the nation. So you have two timelines. On one hand, you have Marx, the propagandist, redefining a word to serve his totalitarian agenda. On the other hand, you have the actual workers, the German workers, fighting for their rights under a banner of socialism, the alliance of a labor-backed currency to protect the producing class. This proves that Marx's definition was not an evolution, it was a hostile takeover. The key to understanding this is the currency through which the communist regime enslaved through total government control of the economy. It is remarkably similar to our debt-based system, and don't make me mention the CBDC. You see, hilariously, communist Russia and the capitalist American government are synonymous. One just extracts power on a slower scale that has taken over a century. By reclaiming the true meaning of social, of the socius, the ally, we reclaim our greatest weapon. we remind ourselves that the true battle line is not between the false constructs they give us, it is between the producer and the parasite. A national socialist labor dollar revolution that empowers the producing class and frees the working man from the inflationary debt prison that extracts our wealth. And in that fight, we must be what we have always been, a society of allies, of producers.
This is a Thomas Freedom Jefferson Labor Dollar Revolution message.